There is a deeply persistent and seductive illusion embedded within the human imagination, and it has been reinforced by decades of cinema, literature, and popular mythology. The illusion goes something like this. Somewhere out there, across the vast and silent dark, an alien civilization is preparing its ships. They are studying the stars, charting their course, and the only reason they have not yet arrived at our pale blue world is that the distance is enormous and the engineering remains challenging. We tell ourselves that with sufficient time and sufficient technology, the cosmic void between civilizations is simply a logistical problem waiting to be solved. A sufficiently advanced species will build the right engine, discover the right shortcut, and one morning the skies above our cities will fill with something we did not build. That picture is not merely speculative, it is fundamentally, geometrically, and thermodynamically wrong. The universe is not a dark ocean waiting to be sailed. The universe is a strict physical quarantine system, and understanding why requires us to look carefully at the foundational architecture of spacetime itself. Consider a thought experiment. Imagine a laboratory of extraordinary sophistication, constructed not from ordinary building materials, but from the absolute laws of physics. Every scientist inside this laboratory has been placed in their own sealed glass room. The glass is perfectly transparent. They can see each other with complete clarity. They can exchange light-based signals, wave to one another, even communicate in real time across certain distances. But the foundational architecture of the building makes it completely and permanently impossible for any one scientist to physically reach another. The glass walls are not merely thick, they are mathematically enforced by the building itself. If any scientist attempts to break through, the building does not simply resist. It dissolves the scientist. It returns their organized biological structure to the chaotic thermal noise of the surrounding environment. This is not metaphor. This is a reasonably accurate description of what the overarching universe does to complex physical matter that attempts to cross the interstellar void. To understand why, we need to begin with the concept that stands at the absolute center of modern physics, the concept of the light cone. Every single physical object in the observable universe is embedded inside what physicists call a light cone. To appreciate what this means, imagine standing at a precise moment in space-time, at a specific location, at a specific time. Now imagine that you emit a pulse of light in every direction simultaneously. That light expands outward in a perfect sphere, and as time progresses forward, the expanding sphere traces out a cone shape in the four-dimensional geometry of space-time. Everything that pulse of light can ever reach in the future is contained inside what we call the future light cone. Everything that could have sent a signal to reach your current position is contained inside what we call the past light cone. And here is the part that carries the full weight of physical reality. Nothing, no object, no signal, no cause, and no effect can ever exist or propagate outside of these light cones. The speed of light is not simply a measure of how fast photons travel. It is the fundamental speed of causality itself. It is the maximum rate at which one region of the universe can know that another region of the universe exists. When we say that nothing can travel faster than light, we are not describing a technological limitation the way we might describe a horse being slower than an automobile. We are describing a geometric constraint baked into the mathematical fabric of space-time. The universe enforces this constraint absolutely and without exception, because violating it would not merely produce a faster spacecraft, it would shatter the logical progression of time itself. Here is why that matters for the question of alien arrival. A civilization that evolved around a star 40 light years from our sun is embedded in its own light cone. That light cone and our light cone do share some intersection, because light from their star reaches us over time, and light from our sun reaches them. We can, in principle, exchange information across that distance, but physical matter cannot traverse that distance without spending an enormous quantity of time inside one of the most hostile environments the universe has ever produced. And if we push the timescale outward, if we consider civilizations and galaxies millions or billions of light years distant, we encounter something even more devastating. The accelerating expansion of spacetime itself is stretching the universe at a rate that is pushing distant regions permanently beyond any possible causal contact. There are galaxies we can currently observe whose light is reaching us from a time when they were within our reachable past. But those same galaxies are now receding from us faster than light can travel, carried by the expansion of the spatial fabric itself. They are not merely far away, they are geometrically unreachable forever. Their light cone and our light cone have been permanently separated by the mathematical architecture of the cosmos. This is the geometric quarantine. It does not care about engineering. It does not care about intelligence or motivation or the passionate desire of a species to reach another world. It is a feature of the mathematical structure of reality, and the universe enforces it with the same indifference with which it enforces the behavior of every particle that has ever existed. Now let us consider the second layer of this physical reality, one that operates at a completely different scale but is no less absolute. Let us consider what the interstellar void actually does to biological matter. Life, in every form we have ever observed or theoretically considered, is a structure of astonishing physical improbability. A living organism is a highly ordered, low-entropy system. Every protein folded with molecular precision, every DNA strand copied with mechanical fidelity, every electrochemical signal propagating through a nervous system. These are all examples of extraordinarily organized physical processes maintaining themselves against the relentless thermodynamic pressure toward disorder. The second law of thermodynamics is not a suggestion. It is one of the most robust and inviolable principles in all of physics. Entropy, the measure of disorder in a closed system, always increases over time. Life is the temporary and local reversal of that tendency, powered by the continuous input of energy from a nearby star. Now consider what happens when a biological structure leaves the protective gravitational embrace of its home star and enters the interstellar medium. It enters a regime of physics that is almost perfectly hostile to organized matter. The temperature of deep space hovers near absolute zero, approximately 2.7 degrees above the coldest possible thermal state, a remnant glow from the initial expansion of the universe. This thermal environment is not merely cold, it is a powerful engine of entropy production for any biological structure attempting to maintain its internal organization without constant thermal input. Simultaneously, the interstellar medium is saturated with high-energy radiation. Cosmic rays, which are not actually electromagnetic radiation, but rather atomic nuclei and subatomic particles, accelerated to near light speed by supernovae and other violent astrophysical processes, pass through biological tissue and destroy molecular structures with mechanical precision. Gamma-ray bursts, the most energetic electromagnetic events in the observable universe, can sterilize entire regions of space across thousands of light years. The void is not empty. It is a high-entropy environment optimized by thermodynamic necessity to return complex organized structures to their constituent parts. A biological organism is, from the perspective of thermodynamics, a fragile and temporary pocket of local order. The universe has an overwhelming statistical preference for disorder, and the interstellar medium is one of its most powerful tools for enforcing that preference. Pushing a biological structure across 40 light years of this environment without the continuous energy input and protective shielding of a home star system is not an engineering challenge. It is a request that the second law of thermodynamics reverse itself for a duration measured in decades or centuries. The universe declines that request with perfect consistency. One might respond at this point with the reasonable observation that a sufficiently advanced civilization would not send biological organisms. They would send machines. They would send artificial intelligences housed in radiation-hardened computational substrates, capable of surviving the interstellar void where soft biological matter cannot. This is a genuinely interesting point, and it deserves a serious response. Let us first acknowledge that this argument moves the goalposts in a revealing direction. We have already abandoned the idea of biological alien arrival. We are now speculating about machine probes. But even granting this technological leap, we encounter the same geometric and thermodynamic barriers operating at the level of the machines themselves. A computational substrate must maintain its organized physical structure against cosmic ray bombardment across timescales of thousands or millions of years. The failure modes compound with time in ways that are thermodynamically irreversible. More fundamentally, any physical object, biological or mechanical, that attempts to reach another star system must still contend with the lightcone geometry we described earlier. It cannot exceed the speed of light without violating causality, and traveling at even a substantial fraction of the speed of light requires energy expenditure that scales to proportions that challenge even theoretical physics to accommodate. But here is the deeper point, and it is the one that reveals something profound about the nature of advanced intelligence itself. We assume that a sufficiently evolved civilization would be strongly motivated to make the crossing. We assume that the drive to expand, to colonize, to physically reach another world is a universal feature of intelligence at every level of sophistication. This assumption reflects our own current stage of development. We are a young species that has spent our entire existence bound to a single world, looking outward with longing at the stars, understandably projecting our own expansionist impulses onto hypothetical civilizations we have never observed. But consider the alternative possibility with the same analytical rigor we have been applying throughout. A civilization sufficiently advanced to understand the geometry of spacetime, to grasp the full mathematical architecture of light cones and causal boundaries, to have mastered the thermodynamic realities of deep space traversal, would understand with complete clarity that the interstellar crossing is not a challenge awaiting a clever solution. It is a fundamental feature of the universe they inhabit. An intelligence operating at that level of physical understanding does not waste the thermal energy output of an entire star trying to physically breach a geometric quarantine. It understands, with the same clarity, that a physicist understands the impossibility of a perpetual motion machine, that the mathematical architecture of reality has placed a permanent seal between solar systems. And it accepts that reality because acceptance of physical law is precisely what distinguishes genuine intelligence from the desperate and energy-hungry thrashing of a civilization that does not yet understand the cage it is in. The universe is not being cruel in this arrangement. It is being precise. The same mathematical structure that makes causality coherent, that ensures the logical progression of cause before effect in every corner of spacetime, also produces the geometric quarantine that locks complex intelligence inside its own solar neighborhood. These are not separate features of reality. They are the same feature observed at different scales. The light cone that governs the behavior of every particle in every interaction throughout the history of the cosmos is also the structure that permanently separates every civilization from every other. The universe enforces isolation not out of hostility, but out of mathematical necessity. Causality requires it. The consistency of physical law across space-time demands it. What this means for us here on this particular world, orbiting this particular star in this particular cosmic moment, is both sobering and clarifying. The silence of the cosmos is not a mystery to be solved by more sensitive radio telescopes or more powerful spacecraft. It is an answer. Nature itself has provided the answer, written in the language of space-time geometry and thermodynamic law. The doors between the stars are not merely locked. They are welded shut by the foundational architecture of physical reality, and the key that would open them does not exist, not because no civilization has been clever enough to forge it, but because the mathematics of the universe does not permit its existence. We are alone in this corner of the cosmos, not by accident, not by tragedy, but by the same elegant and uncompromising logic that makes the universe comprehensible at all. The geometric quarantine is not a prison. It is the price of coherent causality. And the awe-inspiring truth, the truth that settles quietly in the mind once the illusion of cosmic visitation has dissolved, is that the universe did not build this structure to isolate us specifically. It built this structure because it had no other choice, and neither do they, wherever they are, whoever they are. They are sitting inside their own glass room, looking outward through perfectly transparent walls, watching the light of a distant and